Hi, this is Dan from Magic Pachinko Restorations. As always, if you like to hear and see these videos I make on vintage pachinko machines, I would certainly like it if you would subscribe. You can click on the subscribe link down below. And magicpachinkorestorations.com is the website, and there's a lot of information there. This particular video is not going to be about a specific pachinko machine, but rather something that I've been thinking about for quite a while and kind of wanted to get this off my chest. It deals with buying and selling pachinko machines, mainly buying. I just got off the phone with a customer who paid way too much for a pachinko machine, and it's just been kind of adding to my angst. So I did want to talk to you, especially if you're considering buying a pachinko machine in any shape or form. The pachinko machines that I'm going to talk about are vintage pachinko machines. Those are the ones that are made basically from 1968 till about 1981. They're the ones that have, some of them are single shots, but most of them have a feed tray, and they also have a manual shooter rather than just the knob with the motor that launches the ball. So those are the machines I'm talking about. They consider them to be vintage pachinko machines. If you didn't know, pachinko is the thing to do in Japan. It still is extremely popular. There's over 22,000 pachinko parlors in Japan today. And back in the 70s, it was even more popular. So because in the pachinko parlors, people smoked excessively, and of course you've got people handling the balls all the time, so there was a lot of oil that got on the balls. Those machines just got inundated with oil and cigarette residue, and they only lasted about a year in the parlors, and then they just became unreliable. And for a long time, they were simply taken out of the parlors, thrown into landfills, and replaced. Then they started to try to clean them up, and eventually they started to export them to the United States. But the point being is, with so many parlors and the demand for pachinko machines, the vintage machines were made literally by the hundreds of thousands. They just mass manufactured these things. They must have been pouring off the assembly lines like nobody's business. So they are not uncommon. There are tons of them out there. It's been estimated that anywhere from 200 to 300 pachinko machines are being offered for sale every day on eBay, OfferUp, Marketplace, Facebook Marketplace, places like that. So there's plenty of them out there. I kind of chuckle when I see the eBay ads and things that sellers try to tell you that their pachinko machine is rare. There really is no such thing as a rare pachinko machine. There are desirable machines, there are collectible machines, and we can talk about those in just a minute. But rare pachinko machines really don't exist. There were just way too many of them made. Unfortunately, unlike cars, where cars have been bought and sold for hundreds of 100 years anyway, there's a ton of information on cars, used cars, new cars. You can pretty much find out anything you want. You can find out how much a car cost, how much a dealer paid for it, what incentives are there, so on and so forth. Especially with the internet, it's really easy to find that information. Unfortunately, there just isn't anything that exists like that for pachinkos. So pachinko machines basically come down to two main criteria: condition and collectability. The better the condition the pachinko machine is in, the more it's worth. And if it happens to be one of the more collectible kinds of pachinko machines, then the value would go up according to whatever the collector is willing to pay. So with that said, most pachinko machines, let me back up. Pachinko machines came into the United States in the mid-70s. Any number of cottage industries popped up, and these places would do a very quick clean to the machines. Where the ashtrays were, the ashtrays would still be full of cigarette ash, and they would just simply spray silver paint in the ashtray to cover it up. And believe me, when you get rid of that silver paint in an effort to do the restoration, that stinks. It's nasty. But I mean, that's what they did. The electronic portion of the machine, the lights were just simply disconnected at the parlor, sent over to the United States. Machines were never powered back up again. Power being to the lights. The pachinko machines themselves were 100% mechanical. But they really didn't do a heck of a lot to the machines, and then they sold them. So during the 70s, many, many, many pachinko machines were sold all throughout the country. And those machines now are 40 years old, and they haven't gotten any better with time. There are some people out there that clean the machines up. There are people out there that refurbish the machines, and there are folks like myself that do complete restorations. I'm not talking about those kinds of machines. I'm talking about the machines that somebody bought 30 years ago, played with it as a kid. It got stuck in an attic somewhere, and then 30, 40 years later, somebody finds it up in the attic and says, oh, a pachinko machine. So they either want to get rid of it, or they send it to folks like me to get it restored. Those are the machines that I'm talking about. Those machines are dirty, they're rusty, the playfields are faded and water stained. It's questionable as to whether or not they work or not. There probably isn't any power to the lights, so on and so forth. That's the vast majority of pachinko machines that are out there and available today, regardless of what people are saying about them in their ads. Most of the time, they're this kind of machine. Again, depending on the condition, those machines in really rough condition, $20. If they're in pretty decent condition, maybe upwards to close to $100. If the ad states that they're not sure it works, and you can easily see in the pictures that it's dirty, it's rusty, you should be maxing out at no more than $100. Unfortunately, I've heard horror stories of people who have bought special machines that have a special functionality, paid way too much money, and there's no reassurance that the machine even works. And those are the special electric machines that Nisogen made. Just recently I talked to a fellow that paid $175 for a UFO without knowing if the electronic portion of the machine worked at all. Had no clue. The owner had no clue as to how it was supposed to work, and the buyer bought it not knowing whether or not it worked. Now, if that machine was fully functional and the electronics were still good and the UFO cycled the way it should, then it was okay to pay $175. I've paid that much or even more for a working UFO, a special machine. But to spend that kind of money and not have any guarantee that the machine works, not a good choice. Had another customer send me a machine that was missing parts, had broken parts, and paid way too much money for it. And it's simply because they're not educated. They don't know what to look for. So again, if you go back to the $20 to $100 range for something that you have no guarantee that it works, it might be dirty, rusty, so on and so forth, and you want to spend some time cleaning it up and potentially hooking a 9-volt battery to it or something like that, that's one thing. But if you think you're going to get a pachinko machine that you can just put balls in and start playing, then chances are you're going to be very disappointed with just about anything that you buy from eBay. And I'm not trying to pound on the sellers. There are some sellers out there. I mean, I've been buying and selling pachinko machines for 7 years now. I know some of the sellers. Some of the sellers are doing some nice work. There's a fellow out in Washington that does a pretty decent job refurbishing machines. He doesn't restore them. He simply cleans them up and makes sure they work. And he charges $200 to $300 for his machines, and that's okay. It's been cleaned to a certain extent. It does work. Again, that's condition. The more the condition goes up, the more the machine is worth. So I'm trying to be a little bit on the side of the sellers. I'm sorry, the buyers. Without trying to slam the sellers too much. Again, it's ignorance. It's you take a look at a fully restored machine that I do. Mine sell anywhere from $800 to over $1,000. If I put that up on eBay and someone sees that and then they dig a dirty old piece of garbage out of their cellar and think, oh well, if that one's worth 800, mine's got to be worth 2 or 300, and that's what they put up on the price. Now, granted, that doesn't mean they're going to sell it for that much, but you get a buyer that comes along again through lack of information, spends $200 or $300 on that pachinko machine, and they're getting ripped off. There's just no other way of putting it. They're getting ripped off. Again, I'm not trying to blame the sellers, but I'm blaming the buyers, I guess, a little more simply because they don't have the information. You need to educate yourself a little bit, as you would if you're going to buy anything today. You should be a little bit educated as to the cost of things and just not say, oh, well, they want it, or they want $300 for it. I guess I'll pay that for it. You need to know what you're buying. So be careful of what you're doing when you buy things. Here is my offer to you, because I do have 7-8 years of experience of buying and selling pachinko machines. I know what to look for. I know what certain machines are worth and what other common machines are worth. If you see a pachinko machine that you're interested in buying and you have any doubts as to how much the price is, if you go to magicpachinkorestorations.com, you can do a contact me and simply say, hey, I need some help buying a machine. Get some pictures of it, send the pictures to me, and I will be more than happy to talk to you and let you know if I think it's a good buy or not. And believe me, I'm plenty busy, so I'm not offering this service to try to talk you into sending me that machine to be restored. I simply want to make sure that you don't get ripped off and you're going to be upset when the pachinko machine arrives. So with that said, have a great day and stay tuned to some more videos. Thanks.